He is going to be introducing the remainder of his wonderful panel here. Eric Freerock is one of the key cop blockers in the area. He was the host of Cop Block Radio for a long time, and he is now going to be handling this panel and brings a lot of media expertise to the table as well. He's been producing a bunch of media stuff online for Cop Block and for some other purposes as well. So great activist here in the Keene area, and actually a mover from the Free State Project who is from New Hampshire. So he was born in New Hampshire, left New Hampshire, and then signed up for the Free State Project and moved back to New Hampshire. So it's fairly rare to run across somebody like that. So thanks, Eric, for being here, and thank you guys as well, and thanks for coming back from lunch. So Cop Block panel for the first time ever.
All right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, I'm actually from Keene, so I left and then came back, so I guess it works out. I'm technically a Free Stater, but whatever. If you have
Free Stater,
yeah, I guess a
Re-stater.
Re-entry, yeah, Re-stater. Yeah, that's a new one, I guess. If you have any questions, just come up to the mic right in the middle. We're not, whatever. I guess we'll just start off with introducing yourself and how you got started in the Cop Block, and I guess we'll start at the end.
All right. Hey, well, I'm Joel Valenzuela. I moved last year to Manchester, and that was kind of the start of my big cop blocking experience. There's a very strong cop block presence out in Manchester, and there's a lot of, Manch PD is pretty big, there's a lot of action going on, and so I would start getting involved, especially at the suspicionless checkpoints that they kept holding. And so far, I mean, there's not very many places that can compete with Manchester in terms of a cop blocking presence at large events like that. We've had people from all the way over from here, from Keene, come out and help us. Also, I have spoken at student groups around the country on the subject of cop block, and it's always a easier hit with the kids. And also, I write online for things like the Free Thought Project on the subject a lot.
I'm a Centurion. I go by JP. I moved to New Hampshire in 2006. How I got into Cop Block was the Keene police raided the wrong house. I was there with my current girlfriend that went to Keene State College. That's what brought me up here. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. And they raided the house and beat me up, and we started this big Fed lawsuit against them because they were serving a federal warrant out of jurisdiction. And make a long story short, during that process, I think it lasted like 4 or 5 years, something like that. One of the depositions coming out of the Superior Court, there was some thing going on downtown with the Free Keene. I knew nothing about Libertarian, Free State, nothing. I didn't know anything about anything. And I met Pete Air downtown, and one night he invited me to the CAC, and I've basically been doing it ever since.
And yeah, my name's Eric, and it's really weird how I got into Cop Block. I guess mostly it's from seeing videos from various Free Staters and then like open carry advocates and whatnot, and that kind of led me over to a lot of the Cop Block videos. And this was while I was still living in Columbus, Ohio, and being in New Hampshire is so much better than being in Columbus, because even though there's way less people here, there are a lot more liberty-minded individuals and active people who involve themselves in Cop Block. I was in Columbus when Pete Air came through during the 2012 police accountability tour that he did prior to Liberty Forum that year. And of the 25 people who said that they were going to show up to the meeting, I was the only one who showed up. And this is Columbus, and there's 1.2 million people within a 10-mile radius of where the meeting location was, but I was the only person to show up, which was kind of nice for me because I got to talk to Pete for 2 hours, and we talked about various things of things in New Hampshire, and then what was going on with Cop Block, and then I had an idea of doing the Cop Block, doing a podcast dedicated to just Cop Block related stuff. And at that point, I think the Cop Block Facebook page was maybe at about 30,000 likes at that point. So we were the first game in town as far as like a dedicated show. It was 2 hours every week dedicated to police accountability issues. And now I think there's at least 5 shows that do that on a weekly basis now. And now the greatest thing that we've seen from that time when I started at the 35,000 mark is now we're almost to 1.3 million likes on the Cop Block Facebook page, which is insane. And we're now getting like weekly, we're getting more likes per week.
Past P1.
What?
Blew past P1.
Yeah, Police One, yeah, we kind of massacred them. I think only the Cops TV show has more likes than the Cop Block Facebook page does as far as a cop-related Facebook page. So that's where we are for now, I guess.
Well, when I started Cop Blocking with you a year or so ago, I think I was doing Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays from 3 p.m. I usually do outreach with the college kids for hours, and getting to know them, letting them know their rights, what to say, what not to say, like coaching them. And I think 3 a.m. we usually cut out, 3 a.m. in the morning. So we were doing that about 10 weeks straight. So the cops here hated us. Dropped the number of fines in open container and them going after victimless crimes down huge. So we have a pretty big, I kind of stay in the college area, so I'm kind of a little celebrity there. They love seeing me.
It's hilarious, especially with this guy. He's like, we're just like going down the street on like a bike or something, and they're like, JP. He's like taking pictures with like 20 girls. 20 girls.
Living the dream right there.
It was hilarious. It's pretty funny.
It's still. It hasn't stopped. Yeah, I went out last night. I think I ended 2:45. It was kind of homeless for the night because I was supposed to stay with James Cleveland from Robin Hood, and I kind of had a couch hop last night, so because of Cop Blocking. But we do pretty big here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how you have this celebrity status with the college kids, with the younger generations, and then you go in the older conservative groups, and they just like, what do you have against law and order? And
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just a completely different response. And I think that it's probably because young people have grown up in this sort of police state, and the older generations didn't quite have the same experience. And so they're kind of in denial on how bad it's gotten. And so that's the big challenge, is to convince the older generations, a lot of whom make up the voters, right, that it's not Mayberry anymore. It's more like Fallujah.
Well, when I interact with the college kids, I mean, some of these combos go for an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm new. I'm fairly new because during the Cop Block thing, I'm grasping like Eric always told me. He's like, "What do you believe in? What's this? What's that?" And now tell him, he goes, "You're an anarchist." That's exactly what we do. That's how we think. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And I went through the whole Fed thing and being accused of a Fed and all that stuff, but I still pressed on and just did my activism.
It's a rite
anyway.
of passage in this community.
Yeah, I heard. But afterwards, I really started getting involved with the people at the Keene Activist Center, and I kind of like and then they start to get to know me, and they forgot all about that, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting evolution with you, because friggin' like the first day that I met you, I hated you. I didn't like you at all. We were out Cop Blocking with Pete and Paul and one other person, and I couldn't stand you.
Dave Crawford.
David, yeah. But it's been a very interesting evolution with this guy. So, does Manchester use any literature? Because I know we do.
We usually, whenever I come to Keene, I get big stacks of stuff and just take them back there. So yes, we do have literature, not necessarily our own, but it gets passed out. And that, in fact, that was the only time during Cop Blocking the cops actually tried to arrest me, is when I was handing out literature.
It's amazing how much literature we pass out. I mean, we're talking in the thousands. And when I mention that number over the air, somebody's like, no way. You know, they're like, no way. Then they realized, yeah, you know, we're passing out 2,500 a night, you know, on a good night.
We bought 5,000 cards. It was Know Your Rights cards or warning cards or whatever. But what we did, we customized the one that was originally on the Cop Block website. So we made it specific to Keene. So we put, you know, the Keene Cop Block website on there, and then on the back we put 2 QR codes. I think one was straight to the Keene scanner, and the other
Keene
one,
Cop Block Raw, right?
Yeah, well, no, the other one was to on Keene Cop Block. We actually have photos of all the police
employees.
So you can actually go on there. If you didn't know the person's name, you could check the photos and be like, "Hey, that's this
We've got
guy."
their emails and their extensions.
Their phone numbers and all that fun stuff. So that's what we did to the literature that was already out there. We customized it specifically for this area. And I think we had to customize a couple little points on it because it didn't apply, or there was a caveat in New Hampshire that we had to specify, because the card pretty much covered the entire country, but there was one little caveat that we had to add on that. But yeah, I think at the beginning of last, I guess you can say at cop blocking season, because it's kind of when the college kids
we didn't have enough.
Right, we had just what was left at the CAC was maybe 500 or whatever, and then we put in an order for 5,000, and we've gone through those, and I think we're on another.
We're on the second 5,000 box. Yeah, we're looking at 10,000 in 2 years almost.
So I think that's something really important to utilize is literature and trying to customize it to your specific area, not being so broad, I guess. Like the literature that's already on the Cop Block website is useful, and then you can just take it and edit it down to specifically your needs. And I think that's really helped because you can get the word out, and it's more specific to your area than, because it's going to be a little different between here and New Mexico or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how it is in Manchester, because I've only done one DUI checkpoint in Manchester. But in here, if you get in convos with a cop here, I did a cop block meetup in Ohio. I did Columbus, Ohio cop block, and I also went with Dio to do Cleveland cop block. That was a long drive. I'm going to be doing Burlington, Vermont in a month, setting up a new chapter there with a guy named Samuel. But these meetups are important. But if you talk to a cop in all these places, they think alike, they act alike, and their goal is exactly the same no matter where you go. It's just oppressive, revenue driven, totally, like everywhere.
Yeah, that's difficult. I know in Manchester we've done quite a few police outreach things where we go to, for example, every once in a while at a McDonald's they have like a coffee with a cop thing where you're supposed to like show up and like ask them questions and things like that. And there's some other open events with the police, and there have been several cop blockers that show up there, and just trying to get involved with the police community and sort of strengthen ties there, which is kind of odd.
It is difficult. I can't have a good conversation with one for more than 5 minutes. I get aggravated with it.
Exactly. Well, there are a lot of people who join the police force who do care about the Constitution and things like that generically. I mean, but the problem with when you're trying to start